Welcome to Turkey.
Today, we are going to start on a 4-day journey across Turkey, from Istanbul to Şanlıurfa.
Along the way, we will visit some of the most important and fascinating historical sites ever to be uncovered by modern man, including the temple that has broken our understanding of ancient history, setting back the origin of human civilization by at least 5,000 years.
In 1 hour, we are going to be flying 600 kilometers
east to the region of Turkey known as Cappadocia.
All right, we made it to our hotel in Göreme.
Göreme, one of the many small towns inside of a 5,000 square kilometer region of Turkey known as Cappadocia. The name Cappadocia derives from Old Persian and translates to the land of beautiful horses. While this land might have once been known for its horses, today Cappadocia's world renown is attributed to these fairy chimneys. According to local legend, these structures were created by inner earth dwellings of fairies living beneath the ground in Cappadocia. These fairies have been described by inhabitants as small humanoid creatures resembling J.R.R. Tolkien's hobbits, with red eyes that are sensitive to sunlight, causing the fairies to live underground and only come to the surface at night.
Modern-day geology has a different explanation for the fairy chimneys of Cappadocia. Millions of years ago, a bunch of volcanoes in the area erupted, leaving behind a type of rock deposit that's called tuff, T-U-F-F. Ironically, tuff is not tough at all. It's very soft and malleable, and over the centuries, the wind and the elements have eroded down this tuff to create the shapes that we see today.
The malleability of tuff has made it possible for the ancient people of this region to utilize these rock formations in a very unique way. Cave dwellings. Last inhabited 800 years ago by early Christians who originally came here in the 4th century fleeing Roman persecution.
You know, this is bigger than some apartments in New York City.
Yeah.
People lived in this 2,000 years ago.
When these caves were first constructed, we don't truly know, as there is no way to carbon date rock. But what we know for certain is that tuff provided the perfect building opportunity for the dozens of civilizations that have lived in this region throughout history. These churches date back to the 11th century. Christian monks utilized these caves as places of seclusion and quiet prayer. While these cave churches are a wonder to behold, there is much more to be discovered lurking beneath our feet in the region of Cappadocia.
Back in 1963, in the Nevşehir province in Turkey, which is where we are right now, a man was renovating his house. He moved some large stones from his basement, and behind them he found a tunnel. He went into the tunnel, which led to more tunnels and more tunnels, eventually ending in a large underground chamber. He realized that there's no way that these could have been natural and that he was clearly in something man-made. So he called up the Turkish authorities, who concluded that he had accidentally found the hidden underground city of Derinkuyu.
Thanks so much.
Follow the red arrows for touring and blue arrows for exit, so you don't get lost.
Getting lost in Derinkuyu is a very real possibility. This massive underground complex stretches out over an area of 4 kilometers squared and descends down a whopping 85 meters. making its depth equivalent to the height of a 25-story building.
So right behind me is a gigantic ventilation shaft. There was 16,000 of them in the underground city so that they always had fresh air. And the top levels of the underground city were where people lived, because that's where the freshest air was. And the lower levels were more like stables for horses, food storage, libraries.
That is like so far down.
It's so crazy.
So crazy. People with like hand tools dug that right there.
And 22,000 people lived here at once in this underground city.
I can't imagine never seeing the sun, living permanently underground as a member of 22,000 people in an underground city. How do they light it? I guess just fire down here. Like torches on the walls, and that's... They just lived in the darkness, in the stone. It's very kind of haunting. I feel like unsettled.
Oh my god. What the frick?
It's calculated that Derinkuyu could shelter up to 20,000 people. But questions remain: which people, when, and why?
This one's a stall. This is for horses. They literally kept horses in here.
The sun.
It was just rained down into here, I guess.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. So 22,000 people crammed into an underground city. You're gonna need some alcohol. This is the winery, and it's very big in comparison to some of the other spaces we've been in. Also, there's plenty of ventilation to the outside above, and then right back here is Lindsay.
So where we are right now is a missionary school. This was built in the 3rd or 4th century by Christians who repurposed Derinkuyu when they were hiding out from the Romans.
But repurposed Derinkuyu from what? Why did the people of this region once want to live underground?
So there's over 60 entrances to the underground city, and all of them are very small and tight so that any intruders would be forced to go single file, and it would slow them down significantly.
These entrances also feature a unique door design that archaeologists believe was used in times of warfare to keep opposing armies out. On the inside surface of these large stone doors, there is a small hole. If you insert a locking stone as a handle, you can roll the massive stones into place.
As you can see, it's like a circular boulder with a hole in the center, and now the entrance is completely closed and nobody could move it. That's so freaking cool. Every level of this place could be separated from the last. So if somebody breached the top level, they could seal it off with a boulder, move down. And they literally could do that on every single one.
There is evidence that suggests that Derinkuyu may go back as far as the last ice age.
Which at one point would be an impossible notion, considering the last ice age ended 11,700 years ago, and civilization only started 7,000 years ago. But thanks to our next destination, that is no longer the official story.
Welcome to Şanlıurfa. This is a Turkish city just 53 kilometers from the Syrian border located in the south of Turkey. We are also 40 kilometers from today's destination, Karahan Tepe.
Because Karahan Tepe is so newly discovered, there's no public transportation that will take you the 40 kilometers outside of the city. That's why we've hired a driver for the day, Mustafa. Our lovely driver is going to take us there and back.
We made it.
We made it.
Karahan Tepe.
The belief held by archaeologists for the past several centuries is that humans at the end of the last ice age were still in a hunter-gatherer state of our evolution. This meant that agriculture, religious rituals, teamwork, art expression, permanent settlements, and complex building projects were all not yet a part of our societies. The discovery of Karahan Tepe and Göbekli Tepe has changed the mainstream narrative for good and rewritten our history textbooks, setting back the origins of civilization by at least 5,000 years.
Oh my gosh, look! There's the head!
Oh yeah, there it is right there.
Whoa. So one of the most striking and crazy things at Karahan Tepe is the human face that's being carved and is protruding out of the wall.
It looks human, sort of.
The way the mouth is shaped and the way that its neck is like thick and sinewy. It's honestly kind of creepy even, I find. All of the pillars are made of pure bedrock, and 10 of them within the enclosure are still attached at their base.
They didn't build the pillar and put it into place. They literally just carved the shapes that they wanted as they carved down. The negative space was what was carved out to create this reservoir. We're really not sure what Karahan Tepe was. One of our theories, though, is some sort of water reservoir where there was rituals performed here. The stone right here is not attached at its base. So some sources think that this stone was a tuning fork for some sort of resonance. This whole chamber was filled with about 1 meter of water. The pillars and the structure is so well preserved is because this site, as well as Göbekli Tepe, for some reason was actually intentionally buried and then abandoned. We don't know why the peoples who built this would have buried it before leaving. It's still one of the many questions that surround Karahan Tepe and Göbekli Tepe.
One of the coolest parts of being here for me is that you can actually see the lines that the archaeologists have put around the dig sites, and you can literally see how they've demarcated these perfect squares that they're excavating down into, and you can tell that they're obviously not done, and this is like a work in progress, an ongoing thing.
So ongoing, in fact, that even since the filming of this video, archaeologists have made several new discoveries at Karahan Tepe, including a 2.3 meter tall statue of a man sitting on a stone bench, making this the world's oldest human statue.
Standing up here on top of this hill and seeing absolutely nothing but the rolling hills really makes you wonder, like, why? What was here that inspired peoples 12,000 years ago to build something on this hill?
Who were these people? What did they look like? What did they wear? What language did they speak? Did they live here inside of Karahan Tepe, or was this like a place of worship for them? So many questions.
Before we had iPhones, before we had flip phones, there were other tools that we used. When I wanted to call someone, I would just go to the Rolodex and pull out whatever that phone number was. 12,000 years ago, there was no pottery, there was no wheel. Hundreds of years before those technologies filled a need, what were those needs filled with by people who built this? Like, what were the technologies that maybe we just haven't even uncovered or haven't even thought to uncover? If you grow up with a cell phone, you don't ever think about a Rolodex. We just got our tickets. The first stop now after the ticket desk is an animation museum before grabbing a shuttle bus out to the site.
So basically this is explaining that 12,000 years ago, which is the time of Göbekli Tepe, was the end of the last ice age. So temperatures in this area were still very cold, vegetation was limited, and there was only a few animals.
Look at these little tiny stone dishes.
Aww, you put your hot sauce in there?
Yeah, your ketchup, your mustard.
Pesto.
This is sweet and sour sauce for the chicken nuggies. Right?
Yeah, for the chicken nuggets.
Right? They had to have chickens, right?
Vulture
no,
nuggets?
maybe not. Vulture nuggets? Not sure. Very dark up ahead, but we got some space on the walls.
Coming here, we had no idea about this little animation area, like museum thing before you go to the actual archaeological site, but that was actually amazing. Like the 3D projection area was so cool.
Definitely had my heart racing. The music synced with the lights and the visuals. Really great experience.
As I was walking through, like the floor projection was moving and it was like kind of tripping me out.
Looking at the floor and the way it was moving kind of like made you dizzy.
We've seen the whole thing now. We've come out and now we're gonna get the shuttle bus to go to the actual site.
Let's go check out Göbekli Tepe in the flesh, not in the projection. Okay guys, there she is. Let's check it out.
11,600 years ago, perched on the side of a hill in what is now referred to as the Stone Hills region of Turkey, stand 4 circular stone buildings. At the center of each building stands 2 T-shaped stone pillars, weighing up to 10 tons each. Around the perimeter of each building, you will find smaller T-shaped stones, many of which feature intricate carvings of animals. All 4 buildings connected by walls of stone that create passageways between the structures.
Just to reiterate, this broke history. We thought civilization originated in Egypt 7,000 years ago. This is 5,000 years older than that. It's older than everything by thousands of years. It's so incredible. It's just so mind-blowing.
Within the canopy structure behind me is buildings A, B, C, and D. Right now in front of me, directly over the edge of the railing, is building A.
Building A features a low stone bench, an apse, and the floor of it has actually not been reached yet by excavation.
Oh, so we have further to go down?
Yeah, there's still farther down to go. So right down here is building B. The distinctive feature of building B is that it has an artificial terrazzo floor. So they actually made a floor for it as opposed to just having like a packed earth floor.
What's terrazzo?
I think it's like a type of tile.
What? Mm-hmm. It has a tile floor?
Yeah, well like stone tiles probably, but yeah.
12,000 years ago, we're laying tile?
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah. Look right there. That's the floor. Like it looks modern.
Oh,
You see what
wow,
I'm saying?
yeah.
Little stone bits all compacted.
Yeah, that's so cool.
You know what else is crazy? Look at the top of the T-shaped obelisk.
Top of them?
Yeah, look at the indentations.
Yeah, all right.
I wonder why that's in.
The vulture stone. Behind me is building D. Of the 4 buildings under this canopy, this building is the best preserved at Göbekli Tepe. Unlike the last building, building D actually has a smooth bedrock floor, and in the center of the building, there is 2 large stone pillars that are slotted directly into the bedrock floor.
In building D, they found residue of plaster, indicating that this might have had a roof at one time. All around the perimeter of building D is 12 smaller T-shaped obelisks.
One of them is the vulture stone, which is like the most important pillar at Göbekli Tepe, and it's highly theorized as to the meaning of this stone.
Dr. Martin Sweatman, a researcher and author from the University of Edinburgh, has a theory about Pillar 43's meaning. If the scorpion on Pillar 43 were to represent the constellation of Scorpius in the night sky, then when you line up the scorpion, you can see that the other nearby constellations are accounted for in the other animals on the pillar. The theory really gets interesting once Dr. Sweatman considered the circle in the center of the pillar as the sun. With a stationary object, we can interpret the depiction as a date. Using the sun and constellations to create a date, we get 4 possible years. The night sky appeared like this, one which coincides roughly with the construction and occupation of Göbekli Tepe.
So So right behind me is Building C. This is the largest buildings of all the ones discovered at Göbekli Tepe so far.
Building C is another building that features a smooth bedrock floor, and it also has 3 layers of concentric walls. The outer wall is the oldest, and then it gets younger with each wall going inward.
As well, in the center, there's 2 pedestals that are made from natural bedrock.
There are more vultures depicted on that stone. Lindsay has a theory that it was actually ducks depicted on the stones because ducks built this space because she is a freaking duck.
Calm as a seam.
While Building C is the biggest excavated enclosure so far, the vast majority of the compound is still beneath our feet, as only 5% of Göbekli Tepe has been excavated. Before Göbekli Tepe was an ongoing archaeological excavation, it was just a hill. After all, Göbekli Tepe means Potbelly Hill. But we discovered something interesting when chatting with locals in this region. This hill had been revered for a very long time. There is a single mulberry tree atop this lone hill named the Wish Tree. It was a sacred place for locals. People would come with offerings for the tree, and in return, they would ask for wishes. Astonishingly, this practice has been going on atop of this hill since ancient times. Clearly, there is something very special about this place.
We hope you enjoyed this journey through Turkey's ancient past with us.
If you did and you want to help support our work, you can do so by subscribing to our Patreon,
which will get you access to a bonus video from our trip to Göbekli Tepe.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.